Today, I will be trying something new for this channel. Doing ASMR. Now, ooh, we will be reading some Japanese legends. This video will probably be 15 to 20 minutes because this is an experiment. Now, I have read some of these legends already from the book on my own. I'm gonna read some of them that I enjoyed, and maybe a few that I haven't read yet. So, let me just flip these pages here. Hopefully you can pick it up. I'm literally recording this on my phone. Here. This is the second legend in the book, called Wrestling a Serpent. A long time ago, in the province of Tango, now the northern part of Kyoto Prefecture, there lived a sumo wrestler of great strength named Suneo. Near his house, there was an old marsh. It was not a big marsh, but it was so fathomlessly deep that its bed had never once dried up, even in a long spell of dry weather. Its surface was as smooth as a mirror, and its water was very stagnant. One summer evening, Tsuneo came out to the edge of this marsh for a stroll. When standing by a big tree, he saw floating weeds before him sway, though there was not even a puff of wind. All of a sudden, the water swelled, and the next moment the head of a huge serpent appeared. An ordinary person would certainly have been paralyzed with terror at such a sight, but Tsuneo was so stout-hearted that he calmly gazed at it. The serpent also stared at him, shooting out its red tongue and waving it up and down. For a while, they continued the staring match. Then, the serpent turned its head and began to swim across the marsh toward the other side. It was indeed a very horrible sight to see the monstrous serpent swim off, zigzagging its body, which was as thick as the trunk of a big tree. Since the marsh was not very wide, the tail of the serpent remained on the near side even though its head had reached the other. Suddenly the creature flung its tail out of the water and extended its end toward the wrestler. The next instant, the monster began to wind its tail around the wrestler's left leg. "Gosh, this will be fun," Tsuneo muttered, deliberately letting the serpent do what it pleased. The serpent coiled its tail around his leg, from ankle up to knee, and then began to pull him with great force. "Well, she is going to drag me into the marsh," he said to himself. He stood firm on the ground by stretching his legs, and the serpent continued to pull him. Excuse me. In rivalry with the monster, Tsuneo stood stauncher than ever before. The serpent with more strength drew the wrestler inch by inch. but the next moment the wrestler pulled back the distance he had lost. Thus, they desperately continued to pull each other for half an hour when the wrestler's clog strap suddenly snapped. Well, that was the worst possible thing that could have happened. The wrestler, with a steady posture giving way, was quickly drawn about 2 or 3 feet toward the edge of the marsh. But he lost no time taking off the broken clogs to get a steadier footing. His feet gradually rooted into the soil as much as 6 inches. Another half an hour passed. When the serpent tried to draw the wrestler with her utmost strength, her tail suddenly snapped off like a straw rope. At that, the wrestler fell on his buttocks with the force of his effort, because he had thrown all the strength of his body into his legs. "Oh, what a strong monster she is," he exclaimed. After a while, his pupils came to gather around him. "What's happened, sir?" they asked. "Nothing. I've just had a contest of strength." The huge serpent. "You should have seen it, boys," Tsuneo laughingly replied. "Sir, your left leg," one of them cried, pointing to Tsuneyo's leg. Tsuneo looked down and found his leg clearly marked with a spiral line. It was the trace of the serpent's coiled tail. There were even some blood stains on the skin, but the wrestler was as calm as if he knew nothing about what had happened to him. "The tail of the monster must be around here. You all look for it," he ordered. The pupils searched all over the place and found it in the bushes close by. Its length was well over 6 feet, and its opening was as wide as 1 foot. It was bluish black and greasy, and presented a forbidding appearance. All the pupils were astonished at the size of the tail. Excuse me. Excuse me. One day, local citizens who had heard the story asked Tsuneo how strong the serpent was. Thereupon he had his left leg wound round by a thick rope and let a group of 10 men pull it hard. The people asked whether the puller's strength corresponded to that of the serpent. The wrestler, however, said more men were needed. The people therefore added new hands, 5 by 5. And finally, the total number of the rope pullers amounted to 60. Now the wrestler said flatly that the serpent's strength was as great as that, but since he had won the contest, his strength was apparently greater than that of the monster. The people thought that Tsuneyo's power must have equaled the strength of at least 100 men. Wow, what an absolute alpha male. That's what I say. I guess we'll do one more maybe. Here. We'll read The Dragon King's Palace. This is the 12th legend in this book collection of legends. Am I being quiet enough? I'm not sure. I guess I'll find out. Long, long ago, in the capital, there lived a young samurai whose name still remains unknown. Probably because he was an insignificant samurai. Excuse me. The samurai was a pious man. On the 18th day of each month, which was the day of worshipping Canaan. He abstained from animal food and visited the Buddhist temples in the capital. Uh, Canaan, I learned from other legends in the story, is the goddess of mercy. There's actually other legends in here that mention her. So that's interesting. Very cool. One day, or he sorry, which was the day of worshipping Canaan. He abstained from animal food and visited the Buddhist temples in the capital. One day, when he was on his way to a temple on the eastern outskirts of the capital, he came across an old man carrying a cane. He saw a little snake hanging from the end of this man's cane, and the snake was moving its body. "Where are you going, old man?" asked the young samurai. "To the capital, sir," replied the old man. "Why are you carrying this snake?" "I have a particular reason." "Couldn't you set it free?" "Today is Canaan's day, so it is a sin to kill an animal on such a day." "Though I don't want to kill the snake, I have to do it to earn my living. I think Ken and Sama will forgive my sin." "What do you use the snake for?" asked the samurai. "I need the snake's grease in making maces." "I make my living by selling maces." "Oh, I see. Then how about exchanging your snake for my outer kimono?" The old man gladly accepted the samurai's offer, and they immediately exchanged their goods. As the young man was about to go, the old man told him that he had caught the snake in a pond a little way off. So the samurai at once went to the pond and released the snake in the water. Then he resumed his pilgrimage to the Buddhist temple. As he went some distance from the pond, he met a pretty girl about 12 years old. Why is a girl at such a lonely place, he wondered. "Hello," she said. "I was waiting for you here." "For what?" "To say thank you, because you saved my life. My parents also want to express their gratitude to you, so I'm here to take you to them." The samurai now realized that the girl was the little snake he had saved. The girl at once led him back to the pond, where she asked him to wait for her for a time. And behold, suddenly she vanished into the pond. But soon she reappeared and told him to close his eyes for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself standing in front of the big gate of a magnificent castle. The girl immediately showed him into the castle, and he was surprised to see all rooms and halls studded with jewels. It was like a fairyland. Soon an old man of dignity, about 70 years of age, with a long white beard, appeared before him and showed him into the most gorgeous chamber, where he thanked the young man for his kindness in saving his daughter's life. He said that although he had always told her not to play in the pond, she would not heed his warning, and at last was caught. The old man and his family entertained him handsomely with all kinds of delicacies. He said, "I am the Dragon King. I wish to present you with a treasure in return for your kindness." So saying, he took a piece of golden rice cake out of the treasure box. He divided it in two and gave one piece to the samurai. He said, "Whenever you need money, you break it and use a part of it You will never be out of money. The samurai accepted his gift thankfully and bade farewell to the Dragon King. The girl accompanied him to the front gate and told him to close his eyes again. Sorry for the door. It's a sweet mate. Apologies. I guess I could cut it out actually. I don't know. We'll see if I'll be lazy. The girl accompanied him to the front gate and told him to close his eyes again. When he opened them, he found himself standing by the pond. She again thanked him and disappeared into the water. Back in the capital, he used the golden rice cake, which, though he broke it, soon retained its original size. Before long, he became a rich man. After his death, however, this treasure mysteriously vanished, so it was not handed down to posterity. Very interesting. So this insignificant samurai, he saves this snake, turned out to be a young girl, and he is shown a mysterious palace of riches and is rewarded with an infinite money glitch for his duty of not sacrifice or killing animals on that day of Kanen Ikenon, the goddess of mercy. Very, very interesting. So, that was only two of the legends. I'm gonna hope end the video here, but hopefully enough people watch this so I can get proper feedback if I should do this again. Now I rely on CapCut for the few times I edit my videos, but for some reason extracting audio is a premium feature, and premium is like $300 a year or something. And I only have like 4 more free uses of extracting audio, so I'm gonna use that for this video, and hopefully it's worth it, I guess. I don't know. I guess if you watched, leave which story was your favorite, the Alpha Sigma Lion sumo wrestler that 1v1 the snake, or the samurai who was rewarded with an infinite money glitch for his kindness of saving a random snake, to be honest, until he finds out it's not a random snake. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this was relaxing. I don't know. I do actually consume ASMR. Hopefully that doesn't expose my character. I mean, I don't really care. I've been doing it since 2020, roughly. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time for me to get my head in the game, you know. I desperately want to monetize my YouTube channel. Not by selling out my soul, but at least creating something worthwhile, I guess. So I guess this is a decent way. Yeah, that's that'll be all for today. Good morning, evening, good night. Whenever you watch this, I don't know. But goodbye.